So I'm a combat medic with the 101st Airborne, also under the Screaming Eagles group. Today I've got my combat medic display. So all the stuff that's on this stretch here would have been what you would have carried as a combat medic when you dropped on D-Day. So all the medical detachment for the 101st came under the 326th Medical Department. Basically, they were there to set up and give medical aid to all the troops that were going to be dropped on D-Day. They set up in a little chateau outside of Hurstville, and they were there to support They were there to support the Airborne unit as they carried out D-Day operations. Later on there was surgeons, doctors and nurses that were able to provide surgical on-site operations for any injured personnel. But as a combat medic, I served on the front line. So I had things like morphine, a really strong painkiller that was given 1 syringe per man. But it's not like it's given like you've got in the movies. You don't stab the patient. So basically, this was given into the muscle, so like your arm or your leg, and you pinch the skin, you put the needle in, and you squeeze it out like a tube of toothpaste. You then put the syringe on the guy's uniform to make sure the next person in the line knows that they've had morphine. So we were issued with 10 syringes per man, but a lot of medics carried more equipment because morphine was going to be used quite a lot. Because obviously injured men, you'll be treating Americans, Germans, French, whoever you came from. Obviously because we're jumping out of planes, we had motion sickness tablets, so everyone was given a motion sickness tablet before they boarded the aircraft, but it caused a lot of issues. A lot of troops fell asleep because obviously even modern day motion sickness tablets can make you feel drowsy. We also had basic surgical kits, so things like tweezers, forceps, obviously to remove things like splinters. If you've got someone that's got arterial bleed, you've got things like this, here that you can clamp the artery. Every man also was issued a first aid kit. So in their airborne first aid kit, they had a bandage, salt powder, a morphine tube, wound tablets, which is basically an antibiotic, and a tourniquet. We also, in our first aid kit, had ammonia inhalants. So they were given to someone if they were unconscious. So it's basically a little glass vial. You snap it, put it under the nose to wake the patient up. Obviously you've got the sulfanilamide powder, which is a topical antibiotic, so if someone's got an injury you sprinkle that on there to reduce infection. Also to reduce infection you've got iodine swab, so again it's a little glass vial, you snap it and then it's got a little applicator, so you put that around the wound before you put the bandage on, so to keep it as clean as you can. Various types of bandages, so you've got plain gauze bandage, that's quite a small bandage, that would be something if someone's got a hand injury or just a small injury. Triangular bandages, used for lots of different things. You can use it as a tourniquet, obviously you can use it for a sling or just any use that with a multi-use bandage. And then you've got the small first aid dressing. Basically one of these boxes here is this, so it's basically a padded gauze bandage which expands when you take it out of the box, and you obviously put that on the wound to reduce the bleeding and give as much pressure as you can as possible.
Yeah. I always love the way it's got other side to wound. Yeah,
yes.
that was making it squaddy proof, wasn't
exactly.
it?
It was making it idiot proof. So.
Yeah. You've also got some gear on you as well. Obviously that was all in the one bag.
Yeah.
What about what you've got?
There.
Yeah. So you've also got some other gear. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So basically, obviously because we're going to be dropped into enemy territory and we'll be surrounded, so carrying as much equipment as possible was important. So a lot of the medics created, out of the ammunition bandoliers, we created one to carry bandages. So we've got a lot of extra bandages. We also had either an entrenching tool, which would have been a spade, or some medics carried axes. Now you can use that obviously to make a splint with, trees, whatever is around you, or if you had to, you could use it to amputate limbs, but also you could use it to dig a trench, so multi-use. And also medics issued 2 canteens, So you have one for yourself, and then one will be for the patient, either to clean off the wound or if they need to drink it. So there's one clean and one dirty, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
And
does.
then all of us have got our first aid kit, and then obviously bigger pouches on here, which I've got on mine, to put whatever you want in there. More bandages, more morphine, food, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just use.
And of course you've got your scissors sitting out in your pocket.
Scissors there ready to use.
Always amuses me because I always used to wear a nice bright pink one until my sergeant major saw it, growled at me, and I changed it for a green one. Had to be done.
Yeah, see everyone see you coming there.
Well, that's the logic. I can put it down and find it. But it's fascinating to see how much of this sort of still carries on into the modern day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's still used morphine today.
Yeah.
Still of various bandages. Obviously iodine gets used all the time in medical procedures. It's instant antiseptic.
Yeah.
I think obviously there's a lot better, because obviously there are those vials there with aspirin, which you still use today, more used by America, but you've got a lot more other painkillers nowadays, more modern things. But obviously through the war, a lot of the medical stuff developed.
Yeah.
Because of the war itself, so how they packaged stuff, how they made stuff, those new inventions, things like penicillin came along and stuff like that. So learned.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating to see what's in the kit. And of course, as you say, you would add to it as well.
Yeah, because obviously in a combat situation, what the army issued you with is not necessarily practical in. You would learn as you went along, every day you go, I need more of this brand, I need more morphine. So you go back to your aid station and you grab what you needed. And then obviously later on when they did Operation Market Garden, that medic would go, last time I need X, Y, Z, so they'd change it as they went along.
Yeah, I was going to say, was there much evolution? Because obviously there were obviously you had quite a few airborne drops during the war, and was there that much evolution?
There was. I mean, obviously, because normal medics would have had two medic bags in the yoke system, and their layout of equipment was slightly different. It was more prioritised for the airborne medic to carry the things that they would most likely use because you've only got one bag.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got all your other equipment, parachute, everything like that, so it's too cumbersome to have two. Later on the war, it's more personal preference of what they put in there, down to demand. Because the US Army, they just that's what you've got. That's allotment, and then they go to their quartermaster or their medical section and say, I want this, I want that, and they grab whatever they could find. British bandages, German bandages, whatever was lying around, they grab it. Because obviously, when you're in the field, it's limited to when you're going to get a resupply.
Probably actually, yeah, you make a good point there, because I'm kind of guessing that being behind the enemy lines, that the German kit would have got used a lot more than perhaps I'd have thought.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't want to use it because it was German equipment. When they needed to, it was just as good as American stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah, although I think by 1945 I'd be a bit more dubious on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, and also you could use bed sheets. If you had clean bed sheets, use that as a band, whatever you could get your hands on.
Yeah, no, that's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for that.
Welcome.